Hello and welcome to another episode of For Your Consideration. It's a month late because
things
happened. I can't remember what they were now, but we had 2 recording dates in October to get this out in November, and both of them had to be cancelled. So we're now recording this in November to get in your ears in the first week of December. So
hooray!
Everything's just got pushed back a month.
It did. Family life things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stuff happened. So what that means is that Michael's wife, Andy, is choosing January's episode, and then we'll be back to Michael and me picking alternate months from February. And Michael will be telling us at the end of this episode what his wife has picked for us to watch next time.
I will.
This month we are doing Austenland, which is what my wife picked for us to watch, and we've both watched it, haven't we, Michael?
We have, yes. We have. Well, no, right, because it's the wife's choice, which sounds weird. It sounds very 1950s, but partner's choice anyway. So, my wife went, okay, well, if I'm making him and her watch something, I can only legitimately watch that. And we were at a loose end, so we all watched it together, which is a bit weird because we don't normally watch the stuff, because, you know, it's things like, hey, what's your homework? It's some 1950s movie. Okay, then, off you go.
Off you go.
Yeah.
When you say you all watched it together, did your daughter join in as well?
Yep, all 3 of us.
Oh, okay, right.
And many of the comments are from her.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I look forward to her commentary.
Because let me see. Now, when you not sold it to me, when you told me about it, I assumed that it was something rom-com, which I've got no problems with at all. I like a good rom-com. And I thought there's a few other things that popped into my head, which I'm sure we'll discuss in a minute. But basically, suggested it to my family, and they went, yep, there's nothing on Sky. Let's watch that. So I got the memory stick, shoved it in the back of the TV, and we watched it. And we watched it.
Cool. Well, I mean, I have to fight my wife's corner, and because I mentioned to her that you'd called it a rom-com, and as far as she's concerned, it's a parody first, with a side note of rom-com, mainly because the rom bit is actually quite a small part of the story, whereas
Indeed.
the whole thing is the parody of Jane Austen and that era
I think that's probably where it was beginning to go a bit wrong for the family.
Right. Okay.
We didn't know what to expect.
Right.
So in our heads we went preconception.
Right.
And the minute you do that, you're under a loser, and that's kind of where I was at. So
yes.
I probably approached it wrong.
Well, I mean that's fine. Should we? I mean, usually at this point, you would ask me, "Why have you picked this?" And obviously, I haven't picked this.
Hang on, but did she tell you?
Well, I had a brief conversation with her. Yes.
Then let's hear that.
But I mean, Austenland kind of predates our relationship. I mean, I suppose in terms of the film came out the year before I met Hannah. The book is older, and the screenplay was co-written by the writer of the book, but apparently the book is very different. So this is very much the film. But it's something that she always talked about as something that she loved. And she said the main reason she picked it is precisely the remit of this podcast, is that it's an underappreciated gem in her mind. She thinks it's absolutely hilarious. She loves it and wants as many people to watch it as possible. So that's the primary reason. She had it as part of her hen do.
Cool.
Along with a drinking game, but rather than alcohol, it was chocolate fountain. So I can't remember what the rules of the drinking game were.
Oh, you see that you knew that was going to be my next question.
I mean, yes, I understand. Probably anytime Jennifer Coolidge says something ridiculous, because that is basically her whole character is her just talking. It's just saying outrageous things and inappropriate things at the wrong moment. Yes, I'd have to ask her what the rules of the drinking game were. But yes, they had.
Well, hang on. Let's do this properly.
Yeah.
Right. Because we always have at this point in the conversation how you came across this first. So how did she tell you how she found it?
I think she may have read the book first, and then I guess it might be one of those films that she watched in the cinema, because again, as I say, it came out in 2013. But it's just something that has been on a reasonably frequent rotation in her life. But it took quite a while for her to persuade me to watch it, because this is watching for the podcast is only the second time I've seen it.
Right. Okay.
But I have to say, I enjoyed it both times, and I did laugh because it is funny.
Yes.
But I suspect that some of the laughter is to do with knowing what it's parodying, and depending on like your familiarity with the source material depends on. But then there are some, like the bit where she sings, "It's getting hot in here. Now take off all your clothes." That is genuinely funny, whether you whether you know Austen or not. And as I say, some of the stuff that Jennifer Coolidge comes out with, which, as far as I understand, some of that was like her improvising, it is genuinely just ridiculous. So yeah. The other thing that occurred to me as I was thinking about this today, to kind of bring it to the level of our audience, because obviously our audience are generally used to us talking about science fiction, is that the one element of this film that kind of chimes in with that is what's real and what's not.
Okay.
In the same way that like a Philip K. Dick story or film plays with those ideas in a kind of science fiction-y kind of way, this film very much plays with who is real and who is not real, and everybody at some part is playing a part, and it's working out who's playing a part when and who's not playing a part, and that kind of goes right through to the end of the film. So I think that's the most interesting aspect for maybe our audience. If anybody is listening and has gone away and watched Austenland, then do please let us know, whether this experiment has worked.
No,
but
yeah,
yes.
we need to know, because that's actually an extremely good point. Is anybody going away? And I mean, I know there's a couple of Richard. I know Richard's watching some of the things that we've watched, but is anybody else going away and finding these things and going for it, or are they just? Because I know certain episodes of ours have got a better downloads than others. And some of them are obviously just some sort of, they're turning up on somebody's algorithm. But the majority of episodes are kind of, like the Blake 7 one, I'm guessing this week is getting quite a big, people are going along to it.
Well, maybe.
Because
I haven't looked at the stats.
Well, I don't know, but it's that kind of thing.
Obviously, the Blake 7 Blu-ray went into production a year ago, but we did do a podcast on it, and then they announced the Blu-ray.
Yeah. So I've got a big pile of discs, and so have you, but that's fine. That's not important. So, right, okay. Now, there's a lot of other things that that in real life that it's quite similar to that I was thinking of, that I made notes about when I was going. So, of late, there's the disappointing Willy Wonka experience. Right now, I don't know if you're
going to compare it to that.
Well, no, because bear with.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Blokoff Pointless, right? Whatever he's called.
Richard Osman, yeah.
Richard Osman has got a podcast,
mm-hmm.
and he's been talking about various things. And the week after I watched this, he was talking about the Willy Wonka experience, and his co-host introduced this thing that was as disappointing, but in America, and it's the Bridgerton experience.
Yes.
Right, and that's why that came up.
Yeah,
because they'd sold it, and it was basically the American version of the Willy Wonka experience. It was really bad.
Right.
It was like a school hall with some curtains, and and everyone turned up in their own homemade Bridgerton costumes, which they'd spent a fortune on. And when they arrived, they were like, "What the hell's this?"
And how much were they being charged for the privilege?
A lot, yeah. So that's what twigged in my mind about this. Yeah. It's like, so obviously this thing has legs and could exist, but then again, this is also playing into the idea of how Americans see Brits, as well,
Yes.
which is a big part of the narrative, which is a bit ignored really. But you're watching it going, okay, I get this, because the people who are spending the most money attending this are all Americans.
Mm-hmm.
That's possibly in order to flog the film to a bigger
Yes.
American audience.
Yes. Well, and also at the end, it turns out that the third woman is also an American,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah,
just
so-
been putting on a voice. Though in reality,
Well,
the actress is Scottish, so she's a Scottish actress playing an American character who's for the most part of the film putting on a weird English voice, and then only breaking into her normal character, who's an American at the end.
Yeah.
And all the while she's Scottish in real life. So that's the other thing, is the fact that you've got that working on two levels, because obviously this is acted because it's a film, but then everybody's acting within the thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the play within the artifice of it. So there's several layers of all all that going on.
No, that's fine. It's fine. The problem is, in my house, is either we were expecting like a rom-com, which it
Right.
wasn't. There were obviously there's a romance element because in Jane Austen and all of those things that constantly get remade, the Emmas, the Pride and Prejudices, and all of those things, which have only, to be fair, been remade so many times for film and television because they're free. Right? They're a decent plot, but you don't have to pay the author, and people can latch on to the narrative. Things like Clueless or 10 Things I Hate About You, remakes of narratives that already exist that you don't have to pay the original authors for.
Yes, I mean, in the case of 10 Things I Hate About You, several hundred years of copyright.
Well, I do. But that is a hugely popular film in our house.
Yeah, no. I mean, we love it as well. Yeah.
And so I get that. So that's one of the reasons that the BBC are always remaking. Like every 20 years, it's another Pride and Prejudice. Yeah. It's another Wuthering Heights. And yeah, they've got stories, but you're selling a product that people already know so they can compare it to other versions and things like that. So I get
also
that.
They can watch it and hate on it because it's not the one that they loved from 20 years ago, but they're still going to watch it because it's the new version of Pride and Prejudice.
Are we talking Doctor Who fandom here, or are we talking Pride and Prejudice fandom? Because I'm getting very similar vibes.
I'm sure. I mean, yes.
But perhaps that's a problem with fandom itself. It's
more and more, I am the whiz kid from Greatest Show. You know, who's the one that like
it's that internet meme. We always were.
No, but I think the point that I discovered classic Who, you know, I wanted to embrace it all and love it all. And now I'm at the point where I'm just like, well, I wasn't around at the beginning and I like the early stuff best, which is basically the whiz kid. And then obviously he gets vaporized for his troubles.
It's when you realise you're not going to be around there for the end that makes you real kind of go, okay. Like, it'll go on way longer than us.
Yes.
And you're like, okay. So I missed the beginning. I'm going to miss the end, but I'm going to love the middle bit.
But I'm okay with that because, by its very nature, any person who tried to end Doctor Who would fail because you can't do a story that is a satisfying conclusion to that show.
Yeah.
Right. But we have massively digressed. So, Michael, tell me what your family thought of
All right, they
Austenland.
weren't... right, okay. One of the comments was, what have we just watched?
Right.
Which is probably not the best thing to do. I really don't want to upset your wife here on this one at all.
No. I think she would be quite happy with somebody going, what have we just watched? Because I think that's probably what I said to her as well. But that wasn't a criticism. That was I don't know what I've experienced. I've enjoyed it, but that was it. You see,
because we also always do Christmas movies in our house, like the really, really bad ones. The ones where hey, it's a character. I'm a baker in a small town. Somebody's going to come in and buy the rights. Yep. Very little to do with actual Christmas.
Yep.
Someone's going to buy my shop, which has been in my family for years. We're going to have a competition. Oh, and it's enemies to friends. As a concept. Yeah, we get it. We watch those. And there's a specific one that my daughter is desperately waiting for. So we kind of in our heads going, well, it's not one of those either.
It's not one of those.
It's not a rom-com. It's different. And if we'd gone in thinking that's fine. However, the big issue for my daughter, right, okay, if you're our generation, well, if you're my generation, you watch the film, bear with me, this does go somewhere, which should be on my, calling cards. So, the film Grease, okay? If you watched it and you were my generation, you went, hey, it's the 50s, it's a bit like Happy Days, therefore, and it's got some songs, the end, right?
Right.
As you get older, you go, hang on, there's a flying car at the end. What the hell's going on there? Right? And then there's a whole can of worms that involve her actually drowning at the beginning, and the whole film's a dream sequence as she dies, and then she goes off to heaven at the end. Right? That's a whole extra level. Or why does the car fly? Gets into people's heads, okay? But then they go, it's a musical, we just need to live with it. Now, if you watch Grease now, and you're my daughter, your first reaction is, oh my God, what a terrible film. Why is it a terrible film? It's the message. Change for a man? I don't think so. Right? And that is the entire purpose of not just the main relationships, but all of the relationships in the films. All of the men are terrible. The women aren't that much better. And you go like, I can see this through different eyes. So she's watching this film and she fixates on, and I know we do a whole where do they see them in Doctor Who, but there's this Slovene bloke, okay? She fixates on, he's a bit rapey, right? Okay?
Yeah.
Is basically implied, and it's happened before, and it'll probably happen again, and everyone's into just covering it up, which I know happens in a terrible place.
Yes.
But because we were trying to work out what kind of film we were watching, she latched onto that and went with it big time. Right. Because they were like, I'm not going to reveal your big secret. And my daughter's like, why? Close them down. They're terrible people.
Which is ultimately what happens.
Yeah, I get that. Because then it becomes a massive theme park, which is kind of where it was. Yeah, that's a whole other Disney-fied kettle of fish.
Yes.
So she latched onto that and just kept going with that, and kind of wouldn't let it go, and we just went with it as well.
Okay.
So there was that. Right. So
can I just ask you?
Yeah.
In watching it, did you figure out what was going on?
Yes. You have to remember that my wife watched The Sixth Sense. And she figured out what was going on as soon as the guy walked into the room, and she just went, oh, he's wearing the same coat. Oh, he must be dead. About 2 minutes in, right? I figured out what was happening in Sixth Sense about 5 minutes in when I went, oh, he got better quick from those gunshots.
Right.
And I went like, oh, hang on, maybe he didn't. Right. So we're all kind of fairly film literate.
Yes.
So she and when she's bored and she's not 100% engaged in something, she starts treating everything like a puzzle.
Yes.
And like you, as soon as you get a puzzle in your head, she'll just keep going and go, so that's this, that's this, that's this, that's going there, that's going there. Right, all the pieces are in place. Thanks, next. She does that.
Right.
And it can be difficult to watch things with her sometimes, I'll be honest.
Well, so that's an interesting... So this is where we get into the whole neurodivergent watching of things. So,
and I must admit, I can see this is definitely a direction this podcast's going in.
So my wife, but she often talks about this, that like, if you have ADHD, you're really good at pattern recognition. Yeah. So she's very good at picking out who the murderer is in detective shows. Yeah. You know, she spots patterns. And obviously I spot patterns. I spot different patterns. And I'm trying to remember what I thought when I first watched this. I suspect I was taken in by the fake romance that she thinks is the real romance.
I think you are for about 5 minutes, and then you start, well, a couple of minutes, and then you go, hang on. Has this been... Right, oh, hang on. Whoa. There's a thing we need to discuss in later. I'll mention it now so that we can cycle back to it.
Yeah.
Stuffed animals. Right.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
We need to talk about those in a minute, because they're like a major theme of this, because our whole family totally fixated on those. Okay. Like in a big way. Right, so yeah. So you figured out that there was a romance that had been built into the plot for the people who'd bought the lesser package.
Yeah, so I didn't. The first time I watched this, I did not twig that was what was going on. So call me slow.
Yeah, well, not really, because I got to that point, but then I was like, right, well, obviously there's going to be a genuine romance, and it has to match the narrative structure of the original piece, which is you think someone is an idiot, but actually they turn out to be the hero of the piece. And that's the entire narrative of the story that she's actually meant to be fixated on in the first place, and she doesn't spot that.
Yes.
Because that's what's happening to her in real life.
Yes. So she thinks the Wickham-like character is the one that she should be with, and actually she should be with the Darcy-like character. Yeah. Which is what ends up happening
which
at the
is
end
the
of the
actual
film.
narrative storyline in the first place.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So being able to structure something that's I'll pay the authors their dues. They got that bit right. It's nice. Yeah. But they also had to find a way of making the Darcy character not an actor.
Yes.
They had to find a way of going, right, he's not done this before, therefore he's in this narrative, but he's not actually part of it, and he's just as new a character as this. And I did like the pool party scenes where everyone was being themselves.
Yes.
And they were all being awful.
And yes, and he was just being the same.
Yeah. And he was being the same. So that
he was being yes.
Yeah.
And then you have the meta level of the fact that he plays the love interest in one of the adaptations of Northanger Abbey. So he has played a genuine Austen love interest before this, and then he goes on to play.
Was that the one that was never finished? Northanger Abbey?
No, the one that was never finished was Sanditon.
Right.
But Northanger Abbey is the Austen one where she is parodying Gothic literature.
Right, yes, that's the one that gets wheeled out as well into part of A-level texts as well. See, the problem with that is that you are so far away chronologically from it happening that you're like, well, I know this is meant to be a parody, but it's a parody of things that are so distant that it's the real thing. You're like, it just becomes yet another example of Gothic literature.
Well,
arguably.
Yes. Yeah, unless you know that that's what it's doing. Yes, yeah. So yeah, do you know Flight of the Conchords?
I've seen one episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've seen the pilot.
I'm not particularly familiar with it, but obviously the guy that she thinks she's having the relationship with, he's one half of Flight of the Conchords.
Ah, right.
And did you pick up on the joke at the end about the Hobbit?
Yes.
Yeah, because he was in the Hobbit.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
But you know me, the minute somebody's not in context, I'm well, what, eh? It takes a lot. It's not the same with voices. If somebody's been in a Big Finish and I hear them do an advert on the radio,
right.
I'm like, that's Dan Starkey doing such and such. I get that. But that's just, yeah.
But yeah, so he was in Lord of the Rings, and there's a whole meme about him.
Right.
Because he's an unnamed character, but he's kind of there when the Fellowship kind of gets together, apparently. And then he got a part in The Hobbit. So that whole kind of you couldn't get a part in The Hobbit is basically an in-joke.
Oh, because he did get a part.
Because he did have a part in the actor had a part in The Hobbit, right. But not the character that he's playing in this. So it's another.
Yeah. Got you.
But that's one of those this is just here for. Did you see the Paul McGann clip that I posted on Twitter the other day?
No. What was it?
So I posted a couple of clips of other shows quoting the Doctor Who theme in their incidental music.
Hang on, right, got you, right.
And it was an episode of McDonald and Dodds where Paul McGann,
with the woman from Torchwood.
Yes, in it. Yeah. Yes. And it's one of those ones where you're watching it, and you're going, I bet this wasn't in the original script. Because this only makes sense with those two actors having been cast. Well, I mean, it could have been anybody. It could have been anybody from Doctor Who. But it's the fact that you've got Naoko Mori playing the owner of a Japanese company that's coming to buy this British F1 company that's run by Paul McGann. And she walks in to a thinly disguised version of the Doctor Who theme tune. And when it finishes, she goes, it's smaller on the inside. Which, if you don't know anything about Doctor Who, makes very little sense.
Yeah.
But but it's clearly one of those things where the writers were like, we've cast them now. We're gonna put this in, and the composer probably went, I'm gonna have some fun with this. And so I like that kind of that level of kind of meta joke.
Yeah.
That we had. But again, if you don't know anything about him as an actor, it just goes it goes over your head. It's funny. It's still funny.
To be fair though, the one in this Austenland actually makes more sense, because if you just think, oh, he's a terrible actor, he couldn't get a job in the Hobbit because he's from New Zealand, works actually in the narrative.
Exactly.
There's just an extra level added.
Yes.
But it's bigger on the inside. It's not as big as whatever it was. The size gag.
Yes.
You're like, that wouldn't make sense in the narrative.
No.
Otherwise, so it's better here. That's fine.
Yes.
So also at the end, my wife said, "Did you?" And this is important to her. Did you like any of the characters in it? And this was important to her because that was an actual narrative moment. Because I know you're supposed to. Usually, you're supposed to latch onto at least one character, and you see the narrative through them, through their eyes, and you go with it.
So, obviously with this, you're supposed to identify with Kerry Russell's character.
Yeah.
Did you not? Because I quite like her.
She was all right, but I was like, yeah, she's all right, and I think that's probably where I was at.
Okay.
I think it was everyone else, but the woman who owns the house is she's everyone. Well, they're all over. Okay, so what did you say the name of her friend who's got too many bags? What's the actress called?
Oh, Jennifer Coolidge.
Right. So
who's in Legally Blonde, right?
Yeah, she's Snap and was it? I'm trying to remember a catchphrase from Legally Blonde.
I've only seen Legally Blonde once. I do not recall.
It's not that bad. I don't mind it at all. It's not Legally Blonde 2, but there's no. That's not. That's not a good thing. I can't believe I've seen the sequel. So, I'll watch practically anything. It's fine. Yeah. She is good, but you don't know because she's always playing the same character or a version of it. And you don't know, because it's obviously her real voice.
Yes.
And she's got not an affectation, but she has got a certain style of delivery.
Yes.
But is she a comedian, or has she always been like an actor who does the one type of role? I mean, let's face it, we've had enough of those in the UK over the years.
Yes.
We know that it's like we're hiring this person to do that kind of role. You get Leslie Phillips, and you get Leslie Phillips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever
the film is, yeah.
There was a lovely review of all of the other reviews of Ludwig by Victoria Coren Mitchell.
Nice.
Because she did a review basically commenting on the fact that all the other reviews were like, it's David Mitchell being David Mitchell. And obviously, being married to David Mitchell, she knows what David Mitchell is actually
She was
like.
in the best position to be able to say that.
Yes. But also, reading the article, you have to read between the lines that she's married to David Mitchell, because she never actually lets on in the article that she's married to David. So it's very, very funny. Anyway, so go look for that review. I mean, I guess I didn't have that problem because I've only seen Legally Blonde once, and I haven't seen her in anything else.
Also, it's not David Mitchell being David Mitchell at all.
No, it's not David Mitchell being David Mitchell.
The character doesn't have a bad back.
Okay. No, it's very good. If you haven't seen Ludwig, this is for your consideration, actually on telly.
I've only seen episode 1, really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's brilliant.
My wife fell asleep. I'll be watching the rest.
Yeah, no, watch the rest. It's very good, and it's been recommissioned, and you'll want to watch more. Anyway. So I have not seen Jennifer Coolidge. I've seen Legally Blonde once. I don't remember much about it. I've only ever seen her. The only other thing I've seen her in is this, and I just think she's hysterical. And I think also the fact that she doesn't realise it's all an act, because that's the thing with her character. Her character thinks it's all real because she wants to get with James Callis's character, who's obviously gay. And she thinks that she's actually paid to have a romance with an actual person, and that causes its own level of awkwardness.
Well, yeah, because that was something else that my daughter was having an issue with as well. She was like, so is that prostitution then? Like, because she was going, because what you're doing there is, and then she was looking good, like.
But the implication is that it's not allowed to go beyond.
Yeah, with the standard package, but. You expect, I don't know.
I mean, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on with the bloke playing the pirate.
Yeah.
Who'd come in from the soap, and her with her very old husband. So there's a lot kind of,
I
you
think
don't really
I
want
think
to
we
think
possibly
about,
fixated
overthink
on that
about,
a bit much. I genuinely do.
Did you like Jane Seymour as the woman?
Well,
running
you're
the
not
whole
meant
thing?
to like her, so she did a good job. Because you're meant to find her not very nice.
Sorry, let me ask the question. Did you appreciate her performance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
because that's who you hire. Was she Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman?
She was Dr. Quinn Medicine
Yeah,
Woman.
that
yes.
was. I think that was actually the question I asked at the time when we were watching it. I was going, Andy, is that Dr. Quinn Medicine? And she went, yeah, it is. So yeah, Dr. Quinn.
Yes,
Medicine.
I've got her tab open on IMDb because there's something I forgot what it is now. I'll have to have a look at it again in a minute and tell you when we get to spot the Doctor Who actor. She wasn't in Doctor Who, but I had something else. Oh yeah, I know what. Yeah,
Right.
There's a famous time travel film that she's in that we should talk about briefly. Ask if you've seen it. But we'll wait. We'll get to the end and do
I'm
that.
pondering now. So yeah, it was all right. Now, okay. So you tell me that this was on, and I instantly think the minute you see Austenland is that it's actually Lost in Austin.
Right. That's a completely different thing.
Completely different, and it's on ITVX, and you can watch that anytime you want. And then,
my wife hates it. I seem to recall.
Okay, because I'm guessing she's like a big Austin fan then.
Yes. Yeah. As are my mum and my sisters. So I guess the other thing that I was this is interesting to hear your background. The other thing that I was approaching this from was a childhood of me and my brother getting my sisters and my mum to watch Doctor Who, and my sisters and my mum getting us to watch.
Like a cultural exchange.
Well, it was like who's going to pick next what we get to watch as a family. So, and mum had loads of these things on video and things like that. I mean, this is an aside for you. So we grew up watching the BBC version of Little Women from the 1970s.
Oh yeah.
Which is obviously that's later and also American. One of my daughters is named after a character from Little Women, so there's that. But also, that version of Little Women has the second Doctor married to Marga from Galaxy 4, and two of the love interests are the Governor of Varos and Professor Sorensen. So it's very
okay.
It's very Doctor Who. Well, no, actually, some of those people hadn't been in Doctor Who by the time before they were in Little Women. But but I'm not going to make you watch that because I don't think it's even available.
No, because the Little Women that is the one, our preferred Little Women in our house,
right,
is the movie,
the 90s one or the more recent one. No,
much earlier.
Earlier. Okay, there's an older.
Yeah.
I mean that film. That one's been done to death. Hannah refuses to watch any adaptation of Little Women because she loves it.
No,
so
hang
much.
on. No, it's the one that's got. Is it? It might be Elizabeth Taylor. A young Elizabeth.
There's a Liz Taylor version, is there? Okay, wow.
Hang on, I might have this wrong in my head. Little Women's the one with Joe, isn't it? And
Joe and Meg and
it's
Beth
Meg
and Amy. Yes.
Yeah, it's like the really famous movie adaptation. I'm gonna check it on my my tricorder. Hang on, give me a second. Here's your cast from the 1949 version. That's the version we watch in our house. Okay, Elizabeth Taylor plays Amy.
Okay.
Okay, you've got June Allison plays Jo, Margaret O'Brien, Beth, Janet Leigh plays Meg.
Oh, Janet Leigh.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Let me see, and then there's lots of other people whose faces you would know.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who you would just recognise and go, I've seen them in lots of other films.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So that version was the definitive one for years.
Right.
And I think I managed to track it down on DVD, and we do watch that. I'll probably watch it every Christmas, to be honest. It's one of the ones we just wheel out. So yeah, I get that. I get the watching episodes of Little Women. I'd never even seen it. Andy introduced me to that, and we just kind of do it. But then again, at New Year we watch Peter's Friends, so it's just you do things like that.
Yes, but obviously in terms of Austen, I think I must have watched at least one adaptation of every one of the novels at some point. You've also got the famous 95 Pride and Prejudice, which she watches in Austenland, doesn't she? There's the bit where she watches the famous Colin Firth.
Is that the Colin Firth
What's
bit
the Colin
isn't
Firth
in the book?
One?
Yeah.
Yes. My dad's opinion of that was that Jennifer Ehle had like one expression. He didn't like her Lizzie Bennet. I thought she was very attractive, personally. Yes, and then I mean that's got a few Doctor Who actors in it as well, as does the 80s version. I mean, they're all any British period drama is going to have some Doctor Who connection.
Well, it is. It is. I mean, to be fair, I know it's not really connected, but you've got Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and you've got Matt Smith in it. So
indeed, yes. There's also. Have you ever seen Bride and Prejudice, which is the Bollywood version of Pride and Prejudice?
Oh, hang on. We may actually own that on DVD.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite good. It's quite good.
Yeah.
But we digress.
See, we're not just all Doctor Who in this house.
Well, no, and you'll have to wait until next time. But my next choice for this is very much not the kind of thing you'd expect.
Right.
But it is one of my favourite films. Anyway, but that will be at the end of next episode.
Right. Okay. So, hang on.
You've got more notes, haven't you?
Stuffed animals.
Right. Okay. Go on.
Right. Have the I want to say protuberance. Has the huge amount of random stuffed animals in the film never come up in a conversation with you and your wife while watching this?
I can't say it.
Right.
It
so
loomed large in my mind.
About 20 minutes in,
right,
they're having a conversation and they're in the stables.
Right.
And in the background, there's a single solitary chicken not doing anything. Right? Okay, so we go, there's a chicken and it's not doing anything. That's a bit weird. And we all commented on it at the same time. Okay, and I'm thinking, was that put in there because they wanted a chicken in the scene? Okay, was it just a directorial choice for that one shot? They wanted a chicken in the background. Ridley Scott has a chicken in every single one of his films, including Alien.
I was about to ask that.
Yes.
Where's the chicken in Alien?
Well, I would go on about it, but basically there's a photograph, there's like an ultrasound of the thing inside the throat, and it's actually a chicken and an egg on the wall, the scan, right? Because Ridley Scott's got chickens in all of his films. Anyway, right,
wow,
so there was a chicken, and I thought it was a nod to that, because that's how my mind works.
Yes, of course it does.
And by works, I mean, randomly ricochets around the room. Okay, so we comment on that, and we just think, okay, they needed a chicken. The chicken ran off. They shoved a plastic chicken in the corner. Done. But then there's plastic sheep. There's a goose. There's all sorts of plastic or stuffed or just stationary animals throughout this whole film. And I was like, seriously, it's got to mean something. And I know it's dressing for the set to make it look more like it's supposed to.
I can't say that I noticed any of that.
You'll see nothing else. Next time you watch this, that's all you'll see.
I'll have to ask Hannah about it. But did you notice all the fake animals?
All the fake animals. There's just lots. Right. So that's basically, it was all right. It's not the greatest of all movies. We watched it. We didn't turn it off. We didn't get upset with it. There was a few storylines that didn't go down well with my 15-year-old. But that's fine.
I suspect that anything that any of the things that we've watched over the last year wouldn't necessarily go down. Oh well my with God! Yes,
you've no idea. Yes, I could just flip back through and go. To be fair, actually, you're right. She might enjoy Dirk Gently, but yeah,
I'm sure that's problematic in some way.
Oh God, yeah. You're not wrong. I'm just flicking through my old notes because I've got the same notebook. Yeah, you're right. Actually, she would find issues with quite a lot, but that's because she's a 15-year-old.
Yes. Do you have any more notes before we go on to spotting Doctor Who
I do not have notes, but I do have a cough. But no, I do not have any more notes. You know what? I actually enjoyed it. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know what I was going into, and I made some assumptions, and that probably distracted me.
So, I guess this is a hypothetical. Would you take the time to watch it again now knowing what it is?
You know what? I might actually, because I've got it on a memory stick, and if I was like at a loose end, I might just shove it on. Yeah.
Well, there we go. That's a recommendation for you.
There you go.
My wife, as I said, my wife thinks it's absolutely hilarious, and I mean, I suspect watching it with her is part of the charm of it for me.
Yeah. Well, actually, goes completely down for her choice, which I'm sure we'll be discussing in a minute.
Because there's one of the things about a lot of the stuff we've done. I mean, Hannah watched Dirt Gently with me, but other than that, she hasn't watched any of the stuff that we've talked about. And that's fine. I there's lots of stuff that I watched that I know she's not interested in. Yeah. I've just rewatched a whole series that we're going to do next year at some point, which I really enjoyed. But I know that I tried it with her once and she wasn't interested. So, but snuggling down on the sofa and watching a film is a nice way to pass the time.
Yes.
So yes. So if whether you have a partner to snuggle down and watch it with or not, I would recommend it because I thought it was very funny. And if you like the Austen stuff, then you'll appreciate it on that level of parody.
True. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I actually wrote, Jane of the Air, and I was going to write Pride with Extreme Prejudice and all of those others. So I was trying to immerse myself in those books.
Yeah.
But then go in a totally different direction. So yeah. I get it.
Now, last time I said that there was one Doctor Who actor to spot. It turns out there's a second one, but her part in this is very small, and her part in Doctor Who is very small, so I don't expect you'll have found her. Okay. So, who did you spot?
Okay, first off was the Slovene bloke playing the dodgy husband. He's also in A Big Finish, which I listened to last month, playing the Baron in one of the Missy stories.
Oh.
And he was quite good in that.
He was a regular in Heartbeat, I believe.
He was, yes. He was Lord...
Lord Thingamabob.
Hartley.
Yes, something like that. Rupert Vansittart is his name, and I guess because he was in Aliens of London, that was the first thing they filmed for New Doctor Who, so he's one of the very first actors to have appeared in New Doctor Who. So that was before Austenland. Shall I tell you who the second person was? Or
Please.
Yes.
No.
So, Sarah Niles, who played the friend,
okay,
who was with her in the States, so a very small part.
Yeah,
was one of the nodes in the library. Right. Donna Noble has been saved, all that. So one of the first node that turns round and gives them information is her, apparently. But I'd have to go back and actually watch it to find that out. To check that. But the other two people I wanted to talk about were James Callis. Now, you say you haven't seen modern Battlestar Galactica.
No, I haven't.
He's Gaius Baltar in the remake of Battlestar Galactica.
See, the original Baltar was the baddie out of the Red Hand gang, and if you're my age, you'll go, oh yeah. And if you're anybody else, you'll go, what are you talking about?
No,
probably going to be what are you talking about?
Yes.
It's fine. You really don't need to know any of the words I just said.
But he's very good. And when I watched Battlestar, I couldn't tell whether he was an American actor putting on a British accent or whether he was a British actor who'd lived out there and therefore accentuated his accent. Turns out he is British, but he's just so ridiculously posh.
Right.
In both that and this, that I couldn't quite take him seriously.
Got you.
And he's also apparently in Star Trek Picard, which I haven't
not seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen either.
I must admit, I've kind of gone, I should be watching it, but Discovery, the first episode, put me off all of the new tracks.
I watched the series. I watched Discovery whilst it was on Netflix, and then it disappeared off Netflix. So I haven't seen any of it since.
So I've gone back and watched about 8 episodes of Brave New Worlds, and that is brilliant.
Right,
that's like watching 1960s Star Trek all over again. It's really good.
That would require a subscription to whatever it's on.
Paramount, probably.
Oh, it's Paramount. It's its own Paramount thing. So the other thing, have you ever seen Somewhere in Time?
Oh, hang on. Which one's that?
That's the Christopher Reeve one where he goes back in time by holding a penny and no, that's not. He doesn't hold a penny.
No, he doesn't.
It's the penny that breaks the trance, isn't it? Because he sees a penny from his own time and goes back. He sort of wishes himself back in time.
Yeah, that was the reason. That was okay. So I was quite of a time travel snob when I was younger, and I didn't like that film because his method of time travel was rubbish.
It is ridiculous, yes.
But
it's got
yeah.
Thingamabob from Thingamabob.
Yeah, welcome to the world of being old. Yeah.
So we did Harrison Berger on.
Yes, we did.
And him from that.
Oh, right. Yes, Plummer.
Yes, Christopher Plummer.
Plummer.
He's the guy in Somewhere in Time, along with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. So, that's... Right. Yeah. She was also in a Bond film, but I've never seen it, so...
Probably one of the Roger Moores.
Live and Let Die, which I think is Roger Moore, isn't it?
Yeah.
But as you said, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman is how a lot of people know her.
Yeah.
So, yes. So that's our acting for the week. Michael, what has your wife chosen for us to watch in January?
The Breakfast Club.
Oh.
There we go.
Interesting.
It's accessible. And, yeah.
And I have never seen it.
And you've never seen it?
No.
Right.
No. Though, interestingly enough, I do have a film with one of its stars down for some time next year, so I might reshuffle stuff around so that they follow on. But we'll see what I decide. So January's pick is The Breakfast Club, which I think you'll have to find me a copy because I don't know.
Oh no, I can do that. I think I've got it on Blu-ray and DVD, so that's not a problem.
So is this a film that you like as well?
Yes, but I'd never seen it till I met her.
Ah, okay.
I was I don't have that much of a knowledge of like music, and there's I was going when everyone else was doing The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and all of them and Pretty in Pink, I was doing sci-fi from the 50s and a lot of horror films.
Right.
So that was where I was at while everyone else was doing those films. So I kind of I was doing Nightmare on Elm Street and everyone else was doing this. So that's where I was at. So I missed out a big bit of my education, shall we say.
Now.
So I went back, and once we got together, she was like, I can't believe you've not seen this. Call yourself a filmmaker. And well, I don't, but okay then. So that's where we're at. So she introduced me to that. And
right.
Very good.
I look forward. Am I right in saying that it was directed by the same guy that directed Ferris Bueller, or am I wrong about that?
I cannot remember. I will have to have a look.
I'm going to Google it. I'm going to look it up now.
Yeah, we need to know. I know there'll be people screaming at us going, oh my God, how can you not know this? But that's because our head has only got so much capacity and it's already full of crap.
Directed by John Hughes. Who
Yes.
Did he direct?
I don't think
Ferris
so, because
Bueller?
John Hughes... No, he did the other film. John Hughes... Oh, hang on. Are you a...
Yes, it is John Hughes. Yeah. Right, yes. So... That's the only other film of his that I have seen, and I hate Ferris Bueller.
No, it's fine. So do I.
So, okay, good.
It's very not Ferris Bueller.
Okay, good.
In fact, if anything, it's the diametrically opposed opposite of Ferris Bueller.
Okay.
Because Ferris is an awful person.
He is an awful person, yes.
You're meant to like him because he's the central character of the film. But obviously you're not, because you're meant to latch on to his friend. But his friend is a rich kid. So you're like... Which character am I supposed to relate to here?
Oh, I hated everybody in that film.
Exactly, yes. So that's... I'm glad.
Apart from the teacher who's trying to get him, and you're like...
Right.
Yeah.
This is a very, very different thing. This could be a stage play. This could be almost a Doctor Who bottle episode. It's not sci-fi at all, but it's a very small set.
They're in detention, right?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I don't know anything else apart from they're in detention. And there's a kind of fist punching the air thing at the end or something.
That's the last frame.
Okay. But I don't know what the context of that is, and I don't know anything else about it. So okay. Cool. Let's do Breakfast Club next time.
Sorted. Yeah.
Well,
and
thank you for watching Austenland with me and my wife at a distance.
Yes.
And I will say my usual farewell and leave the final word to you, Michael.
Be seeing you.